Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
Hey, it's Bill from the Bill Simmons podcast. FIFA World Cup 26 fans, listen up. As the official beer sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 26, Michelob Ultra is giving away $1 million worth of FIFA World Cup 26 tickets and prizes. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26. Michelob Ultra FIFA World Cup 26 superior access. No purchase necessary. Open U.S. residents 21 plus begins on December 1st, 2025. Ends on July 31st, 2026. Multiple entry periods. Visit www.MichelobUltra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26 for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
Welcome to the Casting Across Fly Fishing Podcast. I'm Matthew of castingacross.com, where I explore the quarry and culture of fly fishing. Well, we did it. 400 episodes. If you are new to the podcast, then welcome. There are a few episodes for you to catch up on. And if you've been with me for any length of time, congratulations. It is a work of endurance on your part, probably even more than mine. But we've put out a podcast episode every Thursday night for the last 400 episodes, however long that is. You know, I can actually distinctly remember the very first set of episodes. They came out right before a big fly fishing function in Boston. It was kind of at the height of the podcast era, when a bunch of fly fishers were getting into podcasting, and so it's just kind of amazing to look back on what's come and what's gone and how this one's still here, and it is growing slowly but surely, not in leaps and bounds. But you have been the biggest part of that. You as the listener, passing it on, word of mouth, sharing it with your fishing buddy, sharing it with your Trout Unlimited chapter. That is the way this podcast does grow. So thank you for listening. Thank you for passing it on. And one of the reasons why it has to grow that way is because it doesn't get cross-promoted a bunch. And that's okay. It doesn't get cross-promoted in the way that most podcasts do, because I think you know that the format's a little bit different. And this podcast episode in particular is worth mentioning, that usually the format is just me. All right. It's me for about 20 to 25 minutes talking about a particular topic in fly fishing. And in 400 episodes, we've covered the width and the breadth of fly fishing, but there's still much more to be done. But the normal podcasts in fly fishing, they're one of two things. They're either interviews where a fly fishing dignitary is on, somebody who has just written a book, somebody who is a representative for a company, somebody who is active in conservation. That's fantastic. And I've talked to so many of these folks and written articles that appear over at castingacross.com. But I just haven't moved into the interview space on the podcast yet. That yet is always there, and I know I've been saying not yet for a few years. We'll see what this year holds. But then there's also like the roundtable format, which is a lot of fun, particularly if it's a bunch of friends or it's a bunch of people that work in the same fly shop. And that's just not what I do. Well, that is to say, that's not what I normally do. But being this is the 400th episode, and something I've done 50th, 100th, 150, 200, 250, 300, and 350 is I have changed up the format, and I bring in some people who are outside a lot. So if that is any sort of litmus test for their awareness and their authority on the outdoors, then the quantity of time, the ratio of time that my guests today have spent outside, I would say exceeds almost anyone that you are going to listen to on any other fly fishing podcast. Because today I have in studio with me my 5 children, all right? And they are outside all the time doing all sorts of outdoor related things. So how about I introduce you to them, or let them introduce themselves to you in ascending order. It usually has been descending order because I've trusted the eldest to set a precedent for how this ought to go. But let's switch it up and see how that goes. All right. What's your name?
Yeah.
All right. That's Gabriel. Gabriel, how old are you? That's a year and a half. And Gabriel, do you like to fish?
Yes.
All right, very good. So there's Gabriel. Now next up in the batting order is
My name is Judah and I'm 7 years old.
My name is Caleb and I'm 9 years old.
My name is Daniel and I'm 11 years old.
My name is Timothy and I am 14 years old.
all right. There you go. And Ember, did you want to say anything? No. Ember is our lab husky mix, and he is avoiding the heat and the humidity down here in the basement in my office. All right, boys, vital first question. I think this is probably something that I've asked you when you've been on the podcast before, but opinions change, and that's okay. We all need to be big enough to acknowledge that our opinions can change. So, what I'm going to ask you is a very important question that people are dying to hear. When we do something outdoors, whether it be hunting, whether it be fishing, whether it be hiking, whatever it is, and it's time to go pick out a snack at the gas station or the grocery store, what do you choose? So let's make this random. Caleb, what would you choose?
I like to make my own snack mix. And I like to put in pistachios and raisins and sometimes peanut butter pretzels with M&Ms.
Fantastic. All right. Judah, how about you?
I like Oreos.
Oreos. Is there a particular type of Oreo that you like?
I like double stuff and sometimes golden.
Fantastic. All right. Golden Oreos. Those are a underappreciated snack. Daniel, how about you?
Good old Haribo.
Haribo. So for those who are uninitiated, can you explain what a Haribo is?
A gummy bear that's pretty popular.
Very good. Do you have a favorite color of Haribo?
White, which is pineapple.
All right. Last but not least, Timothy.
I like Chex Mix, but not the original Chex Mix, the bold Chex Mix with the extra spicy stuff on it.
All right. Fantastic. Those are all solid choices and only a small amount of high fructose corn syrup in those. So, and that's okay. It is what it is. All right. So now let's talk about some experiences that we've had in the outdoors recently. So Judah, why don't you come over here and let's talk about an amazing evening that you had. We went to go fishing at a local pond, and the pond was actually there's a bacteria outbreak. I don't know if it was a goose or a dog or sewage related, but we had our canoe up there already, and we just had to call an audible and go somewhere else. But it ended up working out. So why don't you talk about some of the highlights of that evening fishing?
So we were on the water and we were on a canoe and we were fishing and I caught 10 fish. I got a few smallmouth bass, a few largemouth bass, and one sunfish.
Fantastic. So the cool thing about that was all in like an hour, right?
Yep.
And they were hitting hard. They were hitting topwater lures. They were hitting lures underwater. They were pulling so hard that what was happening to our canoe?
It was tipping over.
Oh, it was tipping over, but it was definitely getting pulled around. But you did awesome, and your arm was getting tired by the end of that night. But it was fish after fish for quite a while. You kept me very busy unhooking things, but we were having a problem because we'd get the fish off the hook, and then what would they want to do?
Swap out in the boat.
That was absolutely that was a big concern that we had was how much fish flopping in the boat we were having. But you were not alone. So Caleb, you were with us that night. Did you catch as many fish as Judah did?
No.
No, you did not. And is that easy for a big brother to deal with?
No.
No, but you were enduring, and you learned an important lesson that night because I advocated or suggested that you change something after not catching fish for a while. What did I suggest you change?
A new lure.
Okay, what happened when you switched lures?
I caught the largest smallmouth bass I have ever seen.
It was a very nice largemouth bass, or excuse me, a smallmouth bass. It was big, bronze, stripy, all that sort of stuff. It was definitely a big fighter. We also caught another fish that night. What was it?
A crappie.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about fishing up here in New England is that we have a lot of diversity in our lakes. Anything else about that was interesting?
No.
No, that was it. Okay. All right. So we obviously we don't just fish, we do other stuff. So Daniel, we take a normal summer vacation, and where do we usually go every summer?
Virginia.
Where in Virginia?
Charlottesville and by Shenandoah.
All right. And so, what are the things that we usually do when we are down there? What's some of the stuff that we try to spend time doing?
Fish, hike, spend time with family.
Nice. And so we went on a hike. The big kids went on a hike because the little kids were hanging out with their cousins. And then, so we went for a hike in the George Washington National Forest. What were some of the things about that hike that were cool? What were some of the things that we could see?
Well, we were on the Appalachian Trail, and it had a big overlook and some pretty steep cliffs, but you could see for like a couple miles.
And yeah, so we're on the AT, and we were on the AT in, I guess that was June. And so we talked to a couple of people that were doing what?
Hiking the whole thing.
Yeah. And it was a group that, do you remember what the group was? What they were doing?
Not
They
really.
were veterans, and so that was like so in fly fishing we have a couple of groups like this. Project Healing Waters is one of the big ones, where they through an activity they help people, and so it was really cool. The guy that was there that we talked to in the overlook, he was a veteran himself who had had some difficult things that happened on when he was deployed, but now he was helping people, and they were hiking all the way from Georgia to Maine. And what's pretty cool is that we are actually going to be, I don't know if we'll be on the AT, but we'll certainly be close to it when we're hiking the next couple of days. But they should probably be probably in getting into New England at this point in time. But anything else about that hike that was remarkable?
So Embo came along with us, and there was plenty of chipmunks along the side, and he was going nuts.
That's right. So the our dog is absolutely squirrel and chipmunk crazy, and he was kept very busy. There was a remarkable amount of wildlife on that on that hike. All right. Speaking of Virginia, Timothy had some pretty cool experiences. Now that he's a teenager, doing big kid stuff. Talk a little about some of the fishing that you did when you were in Virginia, Timothy.
Yeah, so my grandparents, they have a lake right behind their house, and this past winter they were able to get some kayaks from friends. And I went out on one and I was able to catch a couple pretty big bass.
That's right. So, so big bass. So, what was like one of the? What did you notice about fishing from a kayak? 'Cause I don't know if you fished from a kayak before. You fished from canoes and other boats, but what are some of the things that you noticed about fishing from a kayak that you that were easier or harder than fishing from a canoe or from land?
Well, you had to be a lot more careful about your balance, um, because it's a lot smaller, but it was also easier to. And it was pretty cool because I was down lower, closer to the water than in a canoe, so I could see the fish moving around easier.
Yeah, those are great little kayaks. They don't draw a lot of water, but you can really move around stealthily. Um,
One thing that was funny is that when me and my grandma were cleaning them out, there was some massive spiders that were hiding in there from the winter.
yeah, there's always down there. We live in New Hampshire, and we there are some rattlesnakes and some big spiders, but we forget that when we're down there, that there are spiders and snakes that absolutely want to do you harm. And so every time you reach under a canoe or kayak to flip it over, it's you got to be paying attention. All right. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, gentlemen, is one of the priorities for your mother and for me, and I would imagine for a lot of parents who enjoy the outdoors, is that their kids will learn about the outdoors, that they will appreciate the outdoors. Um, so that's something I want you to maybe share with people. Like, what's something recently that you have learned about the outdoors or that you have come to appreciate about being outside?
So recently, my friends and I had a camp out in our backyard. So it was pretty hot that day, and when we were setting up the tent in the afternoon, thought we looked at the weather app and there was going to be no rain. So we thought, okay, we'll leave the rain fly out. So then we went back in, they came over, we were playing, but it was so hot that we couldn't sleep outside. So we decided to go back in the house and sleep in the basement. And when we woke up the next day, we saw that it rained as a massive thunderstorm and there was puddles in the tent.
That's right. So the moral of the story is very skeptical of the weather app and be over prepared, right?
Oh, also Emma peed in the tent at the beginning.
Are you sure it was Ember? I mean, there's three preteen boys, so Did we do like DNA tests that it was actually the dog and not somebody else?
He almost peed on me, and I saw him do it.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe that's a legitimate reason. All right, that's good. So be wary of what technology tells you, and over prepare. I think that's clutch. All right, Caleb, how about you?
You need a good spot to build anything outside.
Like what?
Like you need a flat spot to build a tent and really anything else.
That's right, because you're into building forts. What kind of forts have you built in the
I've
woods?
built a teepee, a lean-to, and I've cleared away a bush so it's kind of like hidden inside a bunch of other bushes.
That's right. And so, what happens if you try to sleep in a tent on slanted ground?
Then you just end up rolling.
That's right, especially if you're with all your brothers, then we all end up on top of each other. So what did we actually do in our backyard to help that process along?
We grabbed a bunch of mulch and spread it all around the ground for our tent.
That's right. Yeah, some 14-year-old got to move it all around with landscaping rakes and levels and get to learn about all that sort of stuff. Speaking of said 14-year-old, Timothy, how about you? What's something you've come to learn or appreciate about being outside recently?
So my dad took me and my cousin fishing in the Goose Creek down in Virginia, and it was just cool seeing there were people swimming and there were fish jumping. There was snakes and turtles all around me, and it was just cool to see how the animals were comfortable that close to humans.
That's right. And so we were able to get into a couple of fish, but the water was pretty high because they had a lot of storms. But that was cool because that was a spot that I fished when I was 14, and we actually ended up going and fishing another pond. Oh, tell everybody what you became distracted by at the little subdivision pond with that I took you and your cousin to fish.
There were some grass carp that were like at least 2 feet long.
Oh, they were bigger than that. I mean, they were probably 3 to 40 inches. But yeah, and those are fish that I can remember when I was 14. I would just throw every lure at that I could think of. But did they really care much at all about what you had?
Nope.
No, that's the grass carp way. Unless they're feeding on mulberries, then you're almost out of. All right, let's see. So we've heard from Daniel, heard from Caleb, we've heard from Timothy. Oh, this one's good because I think that what Judah's going to share is actually very valuable information. Judah, what did you learn about being outdoors recently?
So for fishing, you have to have a good lure to catch good fish,
Yes.
and you also have to be sit quiet, and you have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to listen.
Listen to who?
Your tour guide,
Your tour guide, your fishing guide. So who is your fishing guide more often than not?
Dad,
That's right. And so when I say cast in a certain direction, what do you do?
cast,
And I say keep your rod tip low, what should you do?
low,
When I say don't cast because I still have your lure in my hand, what should you not do?
no cast.
That's right. And the amazing thing, it's almost like I've been doing this for a while. When you follow my instructions, what ends up happening?
Something bad happens.
No, no, no. When you do, no, no. I might be able to edit this out. When you follow my instructions, what happens?
I catch fish.
That's right. You catch fish, which this is good. You're 7, right? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, 7.5. So this is a good lesson to learn because I've guided professionally before where people pay me. I don't think any of you have paid me to take you fishing, but and people will give me $100, and I've seen this with talking with other guides too. People will give them hundreds of dollars, and then they'll stand there and say, "I know better than you," which is quite the interesting scenario. That actually probably should be the topic of a full podcast coming up on casting across. But I'm glad that you guys are learning that important lesson now in your outdoor career. Okay, we probably have time for one more question. I know some of you are getting close to bedtime. Some of you have to go to the bathroom. This is what happens, right? So if there's moms and dads, grandparents, aunts and uncles listening to this podcast that have kids in their life that are from 7 to 14, and they are thinking about getting them outdoors more, or maybe just changing the way that they spend time with them outdoors, what would be like one piece of advice that you would give an adult who's taking a kid outside? What should they do?
Probably let them have fun, but like not too much where they get hurt, but let them be able to have a good time.
Right. So maybe if I'm reading between the lines, like not be so focused or goal oriented, like we're gonna fish for 45 minutes and or for 4 hours. But like if you want to fish a little bit, then sure. If you want to goof around in the water, sure. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, fantastic. All right, Judah, what would be something that you would say people should think about when they take kids outdoors?
You should bring snacks, good ones.
Lots of snacks, and also you guys are always carrying a what?
Water bottle.
Yes, constantly water bottles. That's why I have to go to the bathroom so much. All right, so those are both good pieces of advice. How about you, Caleb?
You have to let them explore.
So talk about that. I think this one's huge because I know that it took me a while to be comfortable with this. But what do you like to? So say we go fishing. Fishing's a little slow. What does it mean to let them explore?
Like go to the dock and let them like walk around and find things to do.
That's right. And what do you always like to do? Anywhere you go, you always have your pockets full of what?
Rocks.
That's right. Finding interesting rocks, interesting leaves. Today you got to play with a what kind of critter? Was it a snake?
Yeah, it was a snake.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, not goal oriented, but definitely fun. All right. Lastly but not leastly, the one that I've spent the most time with.
Bring a fishing rod just in case. I know this from experience because a couple of weeks ago, my mom had to get some stuff done, so my dad took us. We got donuts and that stuff, but we ended up at a playground where there's a river, probably 100 yards behind it, and I was bored and I didn't know what to do. So, and I tried to get my dad to go back to the house to grab my rod, but he wouldn't.
Right. We had limited time. The baby was sleeping, I think, at that point also. But yeah, always having a fishing rod is important. So I know that's hard if you are not the primary driver of the vehicle. And in fact, that's why there was no fishing rod in the minivan because I'm the primary driver of that vehicle. But those are all good pieces of advice. All right. Any parting words, gentlemen, for all of the listeners of the Casting Across Fly Fishing Podcast? Anything? Yeah, you got to go to bed.
I have to go to the
You have to go to the
bathroom.
bathroom, of course. Anything more substantive or interesting? Anything else? All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for being on the podcast as usual. Most importantly, thank you for being the children that God has given me. I'm excited about doing outdoor stuff with you. I mean, I know we have plans for tomorrow and for the next few days and weeks, and even something new came on my calendar that's really exciting for this fall in New England with its fishing related. But thank you guys very much. So there you have it. Another installment in the Matthew Interviews His Children catalog. They are getting more well spoken and also more rambunctious, but I suppose it is what it is. Hey, if you have questions for them, you can let me know. Matthew at castingacross.com, because next week I will be doing an accusations episode where I deal with that's pretty harsh, where I listen to viewer, listener, and reader questions, comments, and even the odd accusation. I've got some good ones in there, but I'm always willing for more to be taken into consideration. So that's Matthew at castingacross.com. Me or for the children, I'll pass along their answers. I won't necessarily have them on again. But hey, once again, 400 episodes. Thank you. All those who subscribe, all those who like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, for those who follow on social media, for those who interact, those who comment. I truly appreciate it. This is a lot of fun. Again, this is not what I do full time. It's just something I do to pass on my love of fly fishing. Hopefully, you see that my love for the outdoors is something that I'm trying to instill in my kids, and in whatever capacity I can share that with you and those who read and watch what Casting Across is, then that makes me happy. So don't hesitate to reach out. Again, Matthew at castingacross.com. Okay, what do we have this week on Casting Across? The first article is called "It Can Be a Fly Fishing Blog." So a lot of what I write about is not just me being introspective or talking about current events in the sense that like a traditional blog does. But this week there's a couple things I wanted to talk about, and so I put them all up there, very, very short form, one of which was the 400th episode. But there's a couple other things that are interesting that I think are going to germinate and into a larger format. So you can check that one out. And then Wednesday was Video, a Consistent Conservation Worldview, in which I show off a great little book by a gent named Francis Schaeffer, who's no longer with us, but he was a philosopher, theologian, pastor in the middle of the 20th century, both here in the United States and in Europe. And he wrote a great book called Pollution and the Death of Man. And it really asks the underpinning questions about why we do conservation, not how we do conservation, although he does address that, and also not subjective. Well, I want to because I love nature. I want to because it makes me feel good. What are the deeper reasons? So you can check out that video over on YouTube, and then of course the article on Casting Across. This week's recommendation, fresh off of a conversation with the author, is Water Lines by Riverhorse Nakadate. So I had an awesome hour-plus chat with Riverhorse this morning, and we were talking about the book, we're talking about fishing, we're talking about food and family and all sorts of stuff. And it makes me excited to put together some more content about this book. Usually I make the recommendations, and then it's a long time before I get around to making a video or to writing an article. But I'm confident in the next few weeks you're going to hear more about Water Lines. But if you're looking for a good read, something that's just really, really well done, it's him talking about his experiences, his thoughts, but it is in the highest caliber of that style of book. And I believe I have pretty high standards for that kind of writing. So definitely check it out. I'll put a link to where you can grab it from the good folks at Patagonia in this podcast's show notes on the website. Thank you for listening to the Casting Across Fly Fishing Podcast. Please subscribe to your favorite podcast app and then rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Then head over to castingacross.com for 3 posts a week. And let people, place, and things, they go to the pursuit of fish.